What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC video. This time, we're doing something a little bit different. No predictions yet. That's for early next weekend. But this time, today, we're going to be talking about, is UFC 306 trash? And if I could have made it better. This is my second time recording this video. I just poured my heart out for half an hour, and I wasn't capturing my fucking screen. um, but yeah, basically, I'm going to go over UFC 306 as it is right now. I'm going to talk about that card, my opinions on that card, some of the other pay-per-views that are coming up, and then I'm going to show you guys a card that I made that I think would have improved on 306 greatly. So let's jump right in. So basically, right here, what we're looking at is the UFC 306 card. And I just wanted to talk um, about this card and why I think people are very underwhelmed and not super excited, and why this card isn't selling very well in general. Now, this card has been marketed largely as a once in a lifetime, never going to happen again uh, sporting event, an ode to Mexican MMA on Mexican Independence Day. And the card, in all reality, is pretty weak. You know, you have Sean O'Malley Marab as the main event. It's a good fight, but this can't sell on its own, in my humble opinion. I don't think O'Malley sells nearly as well as the UFC would like him to. I think he sold well on UFC 299, but that's because they stacked the card ridiculously from top to bottom. That card was sick. And maybe they thought he would be able to sell this out, and the novelty of the sphere would be able to do it. But I don't think so. And I think that's why people are a little bit disillusioned with this card and how they're hyping it up. But this is a good main event, though. You just need more fights under it, and I'll get into that. You know, co-main event, Grasso Shevchenko, good fight. Feature fight, Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez, sick fight. Second fight on the main card, Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovic. Now, this is a really good fight. I think this fight's going to deliver. It's between two fun prospects who I think are very high skilled. I think it's going to be very fun. I don't know if this belongs on the main card of like a once in a lifetime pay per view. You know what I mean? Like Dana was comparing this to UFC 300. Okay, like I want that. I want that in context so you understand what I'm talking about. This is a great fight, and this fight should be on this card. I love this fight. I just don't think it should be this high up. But a fight that I have seen get the most crap by far on this card is the main card opener of Ronaldo Rodriguez and Ode Osborne. This fight has no business being on this pay-per-view. It could be a prelim. It easily could be. But this fight has no business opening up the main card. Ode Osborne is a bottom level flyweight, and Ronaldo Rodriguez has one win in the UFC over Dennis Bondar, a guy who I think is 0-3 in the UFC now. This fight just has no business being here. Like, it should be something better. And don't worry, I've taken care of it. I'll show you guys at the end of the video. I just like $3,000 for the lowest tier seat in this arena, and this is what you're paying to see to open up the pay-per-view, you know? And I don't mean to like drag these guys or these guys. It's just like they should be on the prelims, especially this fight. Like, come on. Then we look at the prelims. Irene Aldana, Norma Dumont as the main prelim. Kind of meh. Ranked fight. Should be pretty decent, but main prelim, once in a lifetime pay-per-view, give me a break. Manuel Torres, Ignacio Bahamondes, sick fight, just like Ribovic and Zellhuber. This fight will deliver. This fight will be entertaining, and it's in the spot where I think it deserves to be for a card like this. The prelims. Yasmin Uruguay, Caitlin Souza, sure. Edgar Chairez. It says Kevin Borjas here, but Borjas is out with an injury. It's it's Edgar Chairez and Joshua Van on this card, which is should be a fun fight. I'm a bit worried for Joshua Van taking this fight so shortly after being knocked out. And then our one early prelim is Raul Rosas Jr. and Arichi Lang. My thing is, like, there's only 10 fights on this card. We could have gotten at least 12 or 13. And what I'm going to do now is, after running down this card, I'm going to look at some of the other pay-per-views that are coming up the next couple of months and talk about them a little bit. So we're going to jump to UFC 307 here and take a look at this. Main event, Pereira Roundtree. Okay fight. I think Alex Pereira at this point in his career sells better than Sean O'Malley. His opponent isn't the greatest for a pay-per-view main event, but I honestly think this card might be a little bit better than 306, and I'm gonna show you guys why. Same thing as 306 co-main event for the women's title. Raquel Pennington, Juliana Pena. Meh. Nobody really cares. Stephen Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. That'll be a really fun fight. Joaquin Buckley's an all-action fighter, and if he stands and bangs with Stephen Thompson, it should be really entertaining. In what I find interesting in the spot of Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovic, we have Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo. This is just a regular pay-per-view, Joe Schmo pay-per-view in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we have Jose Aldo in the spot of Esteban Ribovic, basically, or Daniel Zellhuber. And Jose Aldo's taking on Mario Bautista. That's a sick fight. And then opening up the main card is Caitlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Meh, but I'd honestly say low-key better than Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne. Because at least some people care about watching Kayla Harrison. Not so much me, but I could see the appeal. And then looking at the prelims, Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Everybody knows Holland. That'll be a pretty fun fight, I'm sure. And then what's interesting to me is that they have a #1 fucking contender fight for the featherweight division just on the prelims. This is a #1 contenders fight. This is the former bantamweight champion of the UFC, previously defending bantamweight champion. Like, he has title defenses. And then I don't know what Evolov is ranked, but it's got to be top 5 right now. And these guys are fighting on the prelims of this card. We have Ode Osborne opening up 306. And we have a #1 contenders fight for featherweight on the prelims, basically. It's just insane. And then Marina Rodriguez, Lucendo, ranked women's fight should be pretty decent. Almeida Potieria, pretty good stand-up fight, I would say. And then we have former champion Carla Esparza, and then former, basically perennial contender Tisha Pennington on the very first early prelim. Like, low-key, I feel like this card is better. Now, that could be debatable. What's not debatable is this card being better. This is UFC 308. Now, you guys let me know if you think this card is just a little bit better. So, main event, Topuria Holloway. That's pretty good. I wonder what the co-main event is. Maybe just like another women's fight? Huh. Robert Whitaker and Hamza Chimaev, huh? That's pretty good. I wonder what the feature fight is. I wonder if that's anything good. Probably not. They couldn't stack it completely. Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, it's a championship fight, a #1 contenders fight at middleweight, and a #1 contender fight basically at heavyweight. But it's not like they would have a third #1 contenders fight on the main card of this pay-per-view. Huh. That's weird. That looks like a third #1 contenders fight on this pay-per-view. Well, that's weird. But surely, right, this main card's so stacked, surely they have like a Ode Osborne tier fight to open it up, because then it would just be ridiculous. Oh! No, that's Lerone Murphy and Dan Ige. Huh. Maybe the prelims are weak. No, that's Jeff Neal and RDA. Look at this fucking card. Look at this card. Look at it. Look at this fucking card. Look at this shit. Now, I know I would slut out for oil money just like the next guy. But holy smokes. Look at this fucking card. Abu Dhabi gets this. And your ode to Mexican MMA gets a ode A. Osborne. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? You know, like, oh my God. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I wanted to bring up this. This fight could have easily been on the Sphere. Easily. Dan Ige takes a fight against Diego Lopez on 2 hours fucking notice and asks, his one request is to be on the Sphere card. And they're saying, Dan, we got you something better. Pack your bags for this 20-hour flight. You're going to Abu Dhabi. What the fuck, man? This fight should have been on the Sphere. This fight could have been on the Sphere. Like, do I really think the fans in Abu Dhabi give a shit about Jeff Neal and RDA? Probably not. You know what I mean? But yeah, like this card is just so overly stacked. This card is decently stacked, at least relative to 306. Like this card isn't blowing you out of the water or anything, making your eyes bulge out of your head. But compared to what we have here, I mean, it's a little bit of a letdown. Okay. And now for the, my magnum opus. I was like, how could I have made this card better in the build up to 306? What fights could I have made or could I have added? And I kept with the same idea of Mexican Independence Day and the card being an ode to Mexican fighting and all that jazz. All I have done is I have put 3 fights on this card. 3 fights. One of the fights I made, one of the fights has recently been announced, and one of the fights has already happened, but I feel like that fight was made for this card and should have been on this card 100%. All right? Drum roll, please. All right, and I'm going to show you. Ta-da! This is my UFC 306 card. Now, I didn't go crazy with it. Like, I could have made entirely new fights, changed everything, and really LARPed, but I wanted to be at least somewhat grounded in reality with this card and not change that much. This is a 12-fight card, 3 early prelims instead of 1, 4 prelims, 5-fight main card. And I'm going to just basically go over what I have changed and talk about why I've done it. So, Raul Rosas, Arichi Lang, exact same. Cherez Van, exact same. Zelhuber Ribovic, I have moved down to the early prelims. Why have I done this? Why have I docked them from the main card? Basically, this is a fight I think has like a 99% chance of delivering and being really entertaining. So you put these guys in this spot where like if somebody's just like watching on like ESPN Plus or like they're at their buddy's house and they're watch this fight, they're like, oh my God, how is this on the early prelims? Dude, we got to watch the rest of these. This is fucking crazy. These guys just went insane. That's kind of the mindset I feel like a lot of the times they have when they build these cards. That's why normally they'll put a good fight in the early prelims and a good fight to end off the regular prelims, which is what I've done here. So moving up to the regular prelims, Yasmin Uruguay, Caitlin Souza, same thing. Torres Bahamondes, same thing. Irene Aldana, Norma Dumont, same thing. But our featured prelim is Yair Rodriguez versus Calvin Kattar. This is a fight I made because I just feel like it makes sense. Neither one of these guys haven't fought each other before. They're both top 10 at featherweight. They're both coming off of losses. They both really didn't take all that much damage. Calvin Kattar specifically didn't take a ton from Aljo at UFC 300. And Yair Rodriguez is far removed from his loss to Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's on this card as well, so the timelines would kind of match up as well. And I think both guys would be ready to go. I think Yair Rodriguez would want to be on this card for sure. And I'm sure Calvin Kattar is looking to bounce back and be a little bit more active, especially after getting hurt a couple of years ago. So I think this main prelim makes perfect sense and should be on this card. Now you might be like, it's too good of a fight to be the early prelim. And I say, or not an early prelim, but too good of a fight to be a prelim. And I say, is that true? Is it too good of a fight to be a prelim? Because this is basically a #1 contenders fight for the exact same division, just on the prelims of UFC 307 that's not marketed as a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I don't think it's too good to be a prelim on this card. I think it's perfect where it is. And now opening up the main card, this is the fight I said it took place like a month or 2 ago and that should have really been on this card. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. Now I'm assuming if this card happened, the fight would play out the same and Tony would lose. But instead of making 40-year-old old man poor Tony Ferguson fly out 20 hours to UAE, to Abu Dhabi, and having him retire in front of a crowd where half of them are like cheering and half of them don't know who he is, and he's surrounded by 1,000 sheiks who have no facial expression because they don't watch the sport, maybe we have Tony Ferguson for Mexican Independence Day. He's Mexican-American, so it fits. Have him retire, in his home country, on his home soil, in a once in a lifetime event in the Sphere. And I'll put this fight on here because I was like, man, could you imagine? Imagine the scenes. Tony loses. DC comes up to interview him. And DC says, hey, we have a little video package for your career. And the whole fucking Sphere turns into a giant, like, 2-minute video basically going through Tony Ferguson's illustrious career that he's had in the UFC, like they did for Robbie Lawler, like they did for Michelle Waterson Gomez. They'd have that fill up the entire fucking Sphere with a bunch of fans that know who Tony is and appreciate him for the sacrifices he's made for the sport and the business. I think it would probably be the greatest retirement in MMA. I think it would be a super emotional note to start the main card on. I think it would get a lot of people invested in the card. And I think it would just, it would be a really special moment instead of Ronaldo Rodriguez and Ode Osborne. I feel like this fight was made for this card because I feel like Tony Ferguson deserves that kind of once in a lifetime, event send off. Tony's the type of guy to retire at the Sphere type shit. You get what I'm saying? I just think it would have been something special. And I don't think Tony would have half retired if it was happening at the Sphere. I think he would have full retired because I think the moment would have been once in a lifetime and it would have been too good. It would have been a storybook ending, bittersweet. It would have been perfect. It would have been cinema. It would have been cinema. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez stays the same. And then the feature fight, Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. This fight just got announced. It's taking place in a little less than 2 months from now, replacing the main event of a fight night, which was originally Namajunas versus Blanchfield. I said, fuck that. Take them off. And we should have tried to have gotten these guys on this card. These guys should have been on this card. At least Moreno. We could have maybe gotten Asakura if Albazi wasn't ready by this date. But I feel like Albazi would have been like, dude, this is the biggest fight of my career in a once-in-a-lifetime venue. I got to take this fight. And I feel like Moreno would be like, well, it's Mexican Independence Day. This is an event for my people. I'm the first Mexican-born UFC champion. I got to be on this fucking card. I don't know why he's not. I don't know if he didn't want to be. It just seems impossible to me that he didn't want to be. There had to have been something to prevent this matchup from materializing on this card. But I just feel like it's a perfect matchup for this card. And I feel like, I kept the co-main event the same and the main event the same. I really only changed 3 fights. And I feel like just looking at this card, it's 100 times better just by changing 3 fights. And it perfectly keeps the whole idea of Mexican Independence Day. Because the fights I added, Yair Rodriguez, former interim champion, had the custom Mexico belt and all that. Brandon Moreno, first Mexican-born UFC champion. And then Tony Ferguson, Mexican-American UFC fighter, beloved by everyone. This is what the Sphere card probably should have been. And this is how I personally would have changed it to make it better. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think. If you think I cooked or I burnt the fucking card. Be pretty hard to burn. This is kind of a different video from what I normally post, so I would appreciate any kind of criticism or feedback on how I could make these better, or this style of video, kind of where I rant a little bit, because I would like to make more videos like this, so just let me know. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'm almost at 100 subs. That'd be really great, and I'd appreciate that a ton. Leave your perfect UFC 306 cards in the comments. Let me know what fights you would have added to maybe make this card a little bit more healthy and appealing. Like this card I feel like could sell a couple $3,000 seats, Dana. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.